Hey
Perfect.
everyone, Shalom. This is Mayim Vega, and I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Lauren Davis. She's a doctor of osteopathy, and she's an author and educator. She is a lactation expert and advocate, and she's also a homeschooling, home birthing, holistic minded mama. I love it. I love that. So thank you so much, Dr. Lauren. Thank you for the honor of letting me interview you and letting my audience learn more about you. I'm super holistic minded. I'm a naturopathic herbalist, and I'm also a homeschooler, and I'm a
Yes.
home birther. And so I just love everything that you're doing. And she was just sharing with me that she had a local practice at a certain point, and then to be with her children, she also took her practice online. So
Yes.
she's got her. Oh, okay. For first, I just wanted to say, I think one of the questions that a lot of people have is people don't know what an osteopathic physician is, and so could you just kind of talk about what that is, what the differences and similarities are between that and a chiropractor and a medical doctor?
Sure thing. So there are two ways to become a physician in the United States. So there is the MD track, which is what most people are familiar with. We'll sometimes call that allopathic medicine. And then there's osteopathic medicine. So osteopathic medicine was started by an MD physician in the 1800s who looked at what had happened with his own family. So he had three children that died of bacterial meningitis. And he thought to himself, there absolutely must be something that my children didn't have that made them prone to this infection, this disease. So he really started looking at the body as a unit and how it functions and how it works mechanically. And he came up with the osteopathic principles and tenets, which is one, that the body is capable of self healing and self regulation. Two, that the parts of the body can't be separated. So we can't separate the mind, the body from the spirit. And three, that with hands on techniques, we can resolve the things that cause dysfunction. So from that, he started teaching other people. It took him about 50 years to come up with all of these tenets and start teaching it. And one of his students was rumored to be the founder of one of the chiropractic schools. So chiropractic manipulation is a descendant of osteopathic manipulation.
That's interesting.
Chiro-
And can I ask a question real quick? Are
Absolutely.
there more osteopaths or chiropractors? Do you know that?
The statistics I don't know. I know that 1 in 4 physicians in the United States right now is an osteopath. Internationally, osteopathic manipulation is taught as a master's program, so they're not non-physicians that practice osteopathy. But I don't know the ratio of chiropractors to osteopaths.
Okay, sorry to cut you off.
That's okay. So, chiropractic really looks at the body from a spinal alignment perspective. So, it looks at small micro motions forward, backward. Osteopathy takes it a little bit further than that and looks at how it can be affected by nerves, tissues, soft tissues, and other parts of the body that may or may not function as well, as opposed to just the bony alignment.
Okay, excellent. And I love that. I've never heard that explanation before, so I'm really glad that I got to hear that from you, because I knew that osteopaths focused on the bone, like that's all I knew.
Yep.
And so I'm glad to know that the origins isn't just about the bones, it's about body, mind, spirit. And that was his philosophy to begin with. And that's
Yes.
probably why one of my favorite doctors is an osteopath. I don't know if you know Dr. Joseph Mercola.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So you have a new book out, right? What is the title of your book?
I do. It's called Thrive Mama, the ultimate postpartum blueprint.
Okay, great. So Thrive Mama, let me see if I can. So her website is latchednourishthriving.com. And if you go to get the book, you can actually see that. Here, let me actually share a screen real quick, since this is video. I mean, if people are connecting through their podcast, they probably won't be able to see this, but if you're on video on YouTube or Rumble or something like that, Facebook, you can see. So this is her website. Let me see, actually. It's that's her website.
Yeah.
And then you can see all her books right here. So you've got two of them out right now. I love the covers too. Really
Thank you.
beautiful art as well. Okay. Well, I love everything you do. Big fan already. Okay, so let me see. I had some questions for you. And it's available on Amazon. Yes,
It
and
is available on Amazon. It's also available on the website. So if you
okay.
order directly from me on the website, you get the audiobook version for free.
Okay. And what about that's great. I love audio version. How about Kindle or like a because I love
Kindle is there. Yep.
okay. I love audiobook because I can listen to it while I'm doing my chores, when I'm in my car, things like that. But I love the Kindle version usually because it's searchable. So you when you want to know very specific answer, dosages or something like that, specific recommendations, you can search
Yes.
for terms. So that's why I really love getting both, especially would you say that this is that kind of a book where it's like a could be used as a reference book? So if you have a specific
Yeah.
question,
At the very end, I have a copy in front of me. At the very end, it basically has all different sorts of charts so that you can look at different nutrients. So that would be very, very searchable. And then there are quizzes at the end of every chapter that are more interactive to help people really see where they stand for each level of depletion.
okay, wow, that sounds super helpful. Okay, great. So I wanted to ask um now related to the book and what you're doing. Can you explain what postnatal depletion is? Because I know this is something that you talk about in your book, and how it affects new moms physically and emotionally.
Yes. So postnatal depletion is a term coined by Dr. Oscar Sarlacc. He is a functional physician in Australia, and he looked at his own wife and saw her journey after she had their kids and how she became more and more depleted, feeling less like herself. And it really boils down to a body issue, a mind issue, and then our spiritual connection, our connection to ourself and our power. So overall, postnatal depletion is depletion in nutrients, specifically protein and micronutrients. We're looking at dysregulation from that within the body. So, our hormone imbalance, trigger of the cell danger response. And then we're looking at how it affects us then emotionally because we can't make our neurotransmitters when we don't have the right amino acids. We can't balance out our hormones, which affects how our mood is and our mood regulation.
Yes, absolutely. And there's always jokes about, oh, she's just a woman, or she just gave birth. And most people know that it's about the hormones, but there's obviously a lot more to it. There's the hormones, and then you said the spiritual aspect. And, I think that that really has to do with, are you in a good environment? Are you in a good relationship? Do you have the right mindset to deal with
Right.
your changing and healing body, this new soul that you have to now take care of and cries way more than you're used to, um
Exactly.
and it's also very interrelated because your mindset and your spiritual and your environment and your relationships also contributes to the depletion of nutrients on top of the lack of a healthy diet, and which we're so used to eating today. The number one thing that people eat in our culture, our society today, is white flour, white bread, white rice, and that's where all the minerals are, is in everything that we've stripped from these grains, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And when you start looking at nutrition, if you look at the Linus Pauling Institute out of Oregon State University, we start to see that women of childbearing age, over 90% are deficient in one or more micronutrients. The most common being potassium, then you have vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, iron, and they're all important in our biologic processes postpartum. And if our body's really not being met there, how can we then ask ourselves to guide another human being who's just come into this world and be that nurturing, caring soul if our body is not prepared to do that?
Right. And then another thing that probably a lot of people don't know is that our body, when at least when we're pregnant, it will prioritize nurturing the baby, and when we're nursing, it'll prioritize um, uh, our milk production. Sorry,
Right.
our breast milk production, and that leaves us with very little to strengthen and fortify our own body and
Yes.
mind, and therefore spirit. And a lot of people don't know who Dr. Linus Pauling is, but I really loved getting his name out there. Dr. Linus Pauling was a two-time Nobel Prize winner, and he was basically the pioneer of the field of orthomolecular nutrition. And one of my teachers in orthomolecular nutrition is Dr. Andrew Saul, who recently passed away. I think it was either this year or last year. And he studied his works, and he has a newsletter, orthomolecular.org, as well as his own website, dryourself.com. But Dr. Linus Pauling he was phenomenal. I believe he was a medical doctor, right? But
Yes.
someone to win two Nobel Prizes, is really remarkable. And it's a shame that he is not more well known, because if he were more well known, our society would be so much less dependent on drugs and all these things that have
Yes.
very harmful side effects, because these micronutrients that you talk about in your book are just so effective and powerful and natural and free of side effects. So I think that's
Yes.
really, really important. And another thing that I wanted to comment is that it's not just women who are pregnant or have just delivered and are taking care of their new babies. According to a study published in the Lancet Global Health, more than 5 billion people are lacking key nutrients like iodine, vitamin E, and calcium. And in the US, deficiencies in vitamins D, B12, B1, B2, B3, which is niacin, A, C,
Hmm.
and E, as well as calcium, magnesium, and iodine, are alarmingly common. And
They are.
this leads to weakened immunity, pregnancy complications, increased disease risk, and as you talk about in your book as well, I'm sure, postpartum issues,
Yes.
right? So I think you did mention some of the nutrients that moms should focus on after giving birth. Are there any more key nutrients, and how can they easily add these to their daily diets?
So the top four are vitamin D, vitamin K, potassium, and iron. Beyond that, we still see that over 50% of women who are in childbearing age are deficient in up to 16 micronutrients, like you talked about. Our B vitamins, vitamin C, magnesium's another key one. And looking at what we're eating is where I start with all of my clients. So if we are adding refined sugars in our diet, if refined sugars make up more than 10%, which the standard American diet is 30% refined sugar based, we already know that we are at risk for multiple micronutrient deficiencies. When we look at the numbers, the issue then becomes how do we replete as quickly as we can and safely as we can? So I always use the gut to replenish. I prefer whole foods. So getting refined sugars out of the diet, especially carby drinks, white breads, white starches, get them out first. Add in all of those locally grown, locally harvested micronutrients. One of the things that the Linus Pauling Institute teaches is that when something has been harvested 7 days ago, so that's pretty easy to do from field to grocery store to your home by the time you're consuming. You lose 70 to 80% of the vitamin C and of the water soluble vitamins in that food. So if we can prioritize things like flash frozen nutrients or foods, the nutrients go way up in that food. The other approach that I add in, especially during as we're coming up to winter, is freeze dried foods. So if we can add these into smoothies, all of those nutrients are retained from when they're flash frozen in the field and then freeze dried. so that we can easily add things back into our diet that are simple yet still food based. So we don't have to rely on, pills and supplements all the time to get what we need in our bodies.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know also that when farmers, when they harvest their crops, a lot of times the best of their crops will go to frozen foods, to the frozen food
Yes.
industry. And this is why when we get a bag of frozen, whatever, like every single vegetable is like in perfect shape. Whereas when we try to buy that same vegetable in the grocery store, if we're not buying from a local source, of course,
Yes.
if we're buying like from Costco, it's old already. And that's one of the reasons why it spoils quickly, but it's oftentimes it's already spoiled, because they
Right.
don't give us the best things. And so yeah, that's why frozen food, and we're not talking about, just to be clear, is just so people don't start buying like, Tyson's pre-prepared frozen meals. We're just talking about organic frozen vegetables, right?
Right.
Or things that you would buy from a local farmer's market, clean up and then freeze yourself, ideally.
Ideally, right? Flash freezing and then freezing are two different processes. When we flash freeze, we drop the temperature right away. So there's no crystal formation in the food, which helps to keep the nutrients in the food better. So flash frozen, if you're looking at the top of the bag, it should say flash frozen. Vegetables are the way to go when you're buying your veggies.
Okay, awesome. I never noticed that before. Okay, thank you. So, how can moms naturally balance their hormones after childbirth? I think that's another key part of your book, right?
Right. So when we look at how our body balances our hormones, we make everything from cholesterol. So getting lots of fat in the diet is the first step to making sure that we get to the point where we can balance our hormones. From there, we turn that into our mother hormone called pregnenolone. And then it gets transformed either down a stress hormone pathway to cortisol, which is our big stress hormone, or it gets changed into our female hormones. So testosterone, DHA, estrogen. When we look at the balance between our cortisol pathway and then our female hormone pathway, what's happening after pregnancy and after we deliver is we're getting this high estrogen state when we're pregnant that as soon as we deliver that placenta, that drops way out. So we skew the ratio very quickly of our sex hormones to our stress hormones. And if we can address that, if we can help our body to detoxify the estrogens faster, and then to get rid of a lot of the cortisol producing factors, we can rebalance much more faster, much more naturally without having to have all of the side effects that we experience postpartum. So, all of the anxiety, postpartum baby blues, all of that comes from that rapid swing. And it's the biggest swing in hormones we'll experience until menopause. And it happens all within 2 to 3 days after we deliver a baby. So, supporting our body's detox processes, meaning zinc, vitamin C, magnesium, as soon as we deliver, even before we deliver, can really help to balance our hormones out. And then addressing our cortisol. So, cortisol is our stress hormone that, as we deliver the baby, goes up exponentially because it is a key for getting babies' lungs to mature outside the womb. So we get high stress hormones, but what does that mean for us as mothers when our cortisol stays up and we stay trapped kind of in that fear response that a lot of people have around pregnancy and labor specifically?
Okay. And you mentioned cholesterol. Could you elaborate more on that
Sure.
topic? Okay.
So all of our hormones, all of our steroidogenic hormones are they're called, all are derived from low density cholesterol, LDL, which a lot of people think of as our bad cholesterol. It's not a bad form of cholesterol. It's a bad imbalance when we have too much compared to our good cholesterol or HDL. So our LDL
So I think
is,
that that's really, those are really terrible terms, good
I
cholesterol and bad
know,
cholesterol, because they're both good. They're both important for our
they're
bodies. I
both
think that's been,
important.
it's a disservice that that media has labeled one bad.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. And when we start to think in terms of how can we get our body the support that it needs, one, if we're breastfeeding, that cholesterol is going to become a ton of breast milk. We don't even recommend checking your cholesterol if you're breastfeeding because we know it's going to be high. So, what happens a lot of times is that women's cholesterol gets checked on a regular routine panel. They see that their cholesterol is high. And then all of a sudden, they're doing all of these things to help lower cholesterol when it's a natural response to the postpartum period.
And it's
It's
necessary. Your body
it's
wants,
necessary
needs
for
that.
healing. Your muscles need it, your fascia needs it to restore your pelvic floor. Your lymphatics need it in order to move all of the goop that's basically been sitting forever. Because our lymphatic channels get blocked when we're pregnant because the increased pressure within our abdomen.
So, okay. So why is it then that, first of all, let me just, I on my channel and on my show, I often talk about how I do not like to see traditional medical doctors, but you are one of the few that I would actually come to see, because you don't share
I don't
standard,
share a lot of
outdated
standard.
propaganda. Basically, it's medical
Yeah.
propaganda, I believe. So why is it that you understand these things, but so many medical professionals do not?
What we are taught in medical school is far different from what I practice now. Um, what
Even
we're
as an osteopathic physician, because I would assume that osteopathy, kind of like chiropractic, teaches a lot of the holistic approaches. No?
It teaches to look at the body as a whole unit, that one system is going to affect the other system. There's less specialty minded where we dissect the systems out and look at them, in, cardiology, nephrology, in traditional medicine, and how the body systems have specialists. Osteopaths don't usually think that way. We usually think in whole body systems, whole systems process, and how one piece of the puzzle can really affect the others. Nutrition, though, across the board is not taught well in any medical school. We're
Mm.
just starting to see nutrition come into medical school settings.
Mm.
There are some DO schools that now have nutrition courses, and they bring in professional chefs and teach how to cook food and the nutrients that are needed. It's a few newer programs that are coming in, but that is the exception, not the rule,
Mm.
unfortunately. And even though we're figuring these things out slowly, it takes 10 to 15 years for modern medicine to adapt the studies that are coming out today.
Yeah.
So I consider myself an early adapter in functional medicine and really looking at how the whole system functions as opposed to what can we do to affect this one thing.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And I believe that this, I'm so glad to hear what you're saying, that there is, it seems like there's a change that's slowly happening and you're an early adapter. And I believe that the change is because of grassroots movements and people saying, hey, pointing back to, like like we call it, these new, it's not really new revelations. It's new research, but it's not new knowledge. It's actually ancient knowledge that our
It
ancestors
is.
followed, and it's our modern westernized industrial practices that has led us to eating diets that we shouldn't be eating. And this is where, have you heard of Dr. Weston A. Price?
Yes.
Right. So he traveled around the world. He was a dentist, actually. And he found that people who followed their native tribal ways and still lived in these tribal lands, and hunted and foraged for food, they had excellent dental health, even though they didn't brush their teeth. They gave birth at an age where in modern westernized society we would already having menopause, and they were free of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all these chronic Western diseases that we have today. And furthermore, when they started adopting the Western diet, maybe leaving their culture and coming into Western life, they would start also adopting Western diseases and Western health issues. And their diets did not have any of these white flour, white grains, cupcakes, all this stuff. It was
Yes.
primarily hunted meat or fished, sea animals, and foraged fruits and vegetables, and just maybe a little
Fresh
bit of
right off the
honey.
vine, right?
Very local, very
Yes.
sustainable. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So my next question that I wanted to ask you is about detoxing. So, why is detoxing so important after having a baby? And what are some safe ways to do it while breastfeeding?
Yeah. So this all kind of starts with our microbiome. So I'm a big student of our microbiome. When we look at how we develop the breast microbiome specifically during pregnancy, we see that we get translocation. So we get gut microbes that go through the intestinal wall into our lymphatic system and travel to the breast. If we were looking at any other point in our life about microbes passing through the gut wall, the trigger word for everyone would be leaky gut syndrome. And this happens in 100% of mothers in order to develop their breast microbiome. So everyone coming out of pregnancy has leaky gut syndrome. And what we know about it is that it absolutely needs addressed in order to heal. So if we look at traditional practices, traditional things like the first 40 days where you have seclusion, you have very fortifying foods like bone broth that are high in protein, easy to digest, high in glutamine, which we associate with healing leaky gut. We see that all of these natural practices that all of these cultures have used for hundreds and thousands of years all help to reseal and heal the gut. If we don't do that, everything that is in our modern environment, all of the toxins that are in our food, our endocrine disrupting chemicals, the additives, all of the food colors, they can all also pass through the gut because in order to allow the bacteria to open, we get everything else that we are eating within our bodies and in our systems. So after we have our baby, traditional medicine says no detoxifying because it could get in the breast milk. Well, toxins are already being moved and mobilized. And what we know about breast milk is that it's fat, and fat attracts our toxins. So if we don't do something to attract them to a different place and into our gut to allow our gut to seal and heal, we're going to end up with toxicities. We're going to end up with all of the inflammatory processes that happen as a result of those toxins. So, what I recommend for all women who are breastfeeding, all postpartum women, is that one, they're using some sort of binder. So, whether that's chlorella, whether that's spirulina, whether that is apple pectin, something that's going to attract and attach those toxins and get it out of their bodies. We think of the gut as our third phase of detoxification. So anything that we can trap inside the tube of the gut, inside the gut lumen, can be excreted from our bodies. If we're not doing that, things that get into that lumen get reabsorbed as they sit there. And what's one of the most common things after we deliver? Constipation, right? We don't have the fluid balance that we had before. Our hormones are slowing down. It slows down our gut transit time. And then we just reabsorb all of this toxic soup that we have in our gut. So binders, and then addressing everything we need for liver to function properly and detoxify. So we need our micronutrients. We need lots of glutathione. We need our ALA, and we need good healthy fats in order for detox to work well.
What would you say are the top three foods for this
So
process? Oh,
one
you
of
mentioned
the
bone broth.
Bone broth
And
has a ton of protein and collagen and micronutrients.
that's what I used to, that's partly what I used to heal my leaky gut. And then chlorella, I also use that. I've never used apple pectin before. But what about for glutathione?
So glutathione, you can do capsules if you want, or you can do food-based.
What would you recommend for the food based?
So it depends on who I'm working with, but organ meats are one of my best go-tos. If someone is willing to do organ meats or at least put organs in the bone broth that they're consuming.
Yeah, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Like I was always thinking of like blending it and then putting it in the bone broth because then you can't really tell it's there. It's just like a thicker soup,
Yep.
or like a stew like. But I personally consume an ancient nutrition. It's Dr. Josh Axe's brand. He's a Dr. Axe, yeah. He has a brand. It's a women's blend. So it's got not just like liver and kidney and things, but it has like female organs. So it has like ovaries, and it has just mammary glands, and parts of that we need, because we're depleted of those hormones, and when we consume it
Yes.
from the organs, we get, even though it's a small, people say that, oh well, they're like, yeah, that's an ancient practice, but we're not sure if that really works, because if you consume it orally, you get just a very little percentage of those
Mhm.
hormones. But it's like, you don't necessarily need a big percentage of it, because that's a very big animal, and if
Right.
you consume it on a daily basis, or regular basis, eventually it'll be enough, and it'll be a natural way without side effects. So okay,
And I
great.
mean, even if you look at Western medicine and the size of a thyroid capsule, you can get so much thyroid hormone in one tiny, tiny little pressed capsule. Why wouldn't consuming thyroid also have the thyroid hormone in it in a small amount?
Yes, yes. I mean, they just say that there's not enough research, but we have history, and we have experience that proves that it works. That it was definitely something that really helped me bounce back and balance my thyroid issues. So, anyways, what simple techniques would you say that new moms can use to manage stress and feel more resilient?
So, one of the techniques that I love from neurolinguistic programming is something called color breathing. So, we're getting a little bit into kind of vibration medicine with this. But if we're looking at what our body can generate, right, we can generate electromagnetic fields around us. Our heart can communicate with someone's heart 8 feet away from us through electromagnetic waves and resonance. So, if we can imagine something in our mind, our body can create that vibration that we need. So the technique is called color breathing because we feel a feeling within our body. We identify where it is in space. So if I'm saying, I'm feeling a little bit, you know, uh, anxious about doing a podcast interview today, right? Where do I feel that in my body? Okay, I really feel that in my belly. What color does that have in my mind? Okay, that's kind of like an orange feeling. Well, I can ask myself the question, what color could come in and resolve and dissolve that for now and all time? And for me right now, that color would be blue. So you imagine a big ball of the blue energy above your head. Let it fill up the room, wall to wall, ceiling, everywhere in between, and then breathe that into your system. And what that does is it cancels out that vibration of that feeling that's trapped within the body and then resets our system so that we can feel more resilient. And that's one of my favorite go to techniques because it can apply across the board to anything. When we master it, it's something that my 6-year-old reaches for when he's saying, oh, I don't want to go talk to that person. You know, I'm feeling a little scared. I'm like, oh, what color do you need right now? And he's like, oh, blue. And he does it automatically and runs off and then is fine. So it's an easy way for us to augment how we're feeling in the moment and then really connect more with our body when we develop that interoceptive awareness.
That's awesome. So I love hearing about different techniques such as that. Are you aware of Dr. Joe Dispenza and his works on meditation?
Yes,
Okay, yeah. So he has a lot of meditations and things like that where, people might think, that sounds ridiculous. That sounds, silly. But call it a call it the placebo effect. It doesn't matter. It works and it's
it
safe.
does.
And it's just it's free, if after you master the technique. So why wouldn't you try it? If we know that placebo is powerful, why not use that to our advantage? I'm not saying that it's placebo. I do believe in vibration and energy, but for the skeptic mind who says, "Oh, that's hogwash," it's like, well, if it works, why not do it? Even if
Yep.
you're
And the
even if
more you
you're
learn about
tricking
quantum
yourself.
physics, the more that you're like, okay, maybe this stuff is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So and I love this next topic, and I know that you address it. How can spirituality help moms during the postpartum period? And what are some ways that they can connect with their inner selves?
So, one of the things that I find the most is that when we are depleted, we're living in a responsive world, right? We are protective of the small amount of energy we have. We don't have a lot to give and connect and give outside of ourselves. And that unfortunately ends up including our children. So, one of the things that we can do is develop the awareness around where our mindset is going. In NLP, in neuro linguistic programming, we call it the frame. So, are we in a positive frame? Are we thinking of things as positive, helpful, engaging, giving back to us, or are we framing things negatively? And most of the time, I find that women who are depleted have a very negative mindset, have a mindset of, this is going to cost me X amount of energy. This is going to be non nourishing for me. So I'm not going to do it. Whereas if we live so that we can connect with others, if we can connect deep within ourselves, back to our purpose, because we have a purpose in motherhood, then we can see things in a more positive light. When we can feel within our body what is going on, and when we can help to reprogram that, right? When we can retrain ourselves, we can then give back to our world and actually live our meaning and purpose in life.
That's beautiful. All right. So I'm sorry, I do have to end this time, but I just thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you. I could talk to you forever, I bet.
I know.
But before we go, how can people connect with you? And do you have any closing thoughts?
Sure. So, one of the easiest ways to connect is on the website. There's a chat feature right there. If you send a message, it literally comes to my cell phone. So, you can get a hold of me on there to discuss either what we can do working together. I have a new group coaching program where I'm going through a lot of the mindset, nutrition, detox with a group of women, a smaller group of women. Or there's always the book. If you want more of kind of my knowledge, my thoughts, you can always grab a copy. Thrive Mama, the Ultimate Postpartum Blueprint. And what that will allow you to do is kind of get a feeling, right? It has a ton of quizzes in there. And you can get a score to see where you actually are on your level of depletion and what's being affected the most. Is it sleep? Is it nutrition? Is it detox? Is it hormones? Each section of the blueprint has a quiz at the end, so you can know exactly where you're at right now. And on the website, the Kindle version, it's only $9.99.
I love it. And this is a holistic approach, body, mind, and spirit. And I know that you said that if we buy it through your website, there's an
Yes.
there's an audio version that's available. Can you?
Right. So you get the EPUB version, so you can put it right into Kindle, so it's searchable. There's the PDF version, and then there's the audiobook that you get all three of them for $9.99.
if we get it from your website.
From the website. Yep.
Okay, awesome. And one final question. Do you only work with postpartum women, or do you also work with others?
I do work a small amount with others. Right now, I'm mostly focusing on postpartum because when we can work together and come together in a community setting, I find that healing happens faster and on a more deeper level. So I'm putting together a group of women in order for them to also connect and then have a tribe to go through postpartum with.
That's beautiful. A tribe of healing, a family, a community of
Yes.
healing. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and for doing what you do to serve humanity and for sharing the truth about holistic health and healing. Have
Yes.
a wonderful rest of the day.
You too.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Algar and I am the host of Expertise TV, and I'm very excited to be introducing you to our guest today, Mayim Vega. Now, Mayim Vega is a former NASA computer scientist turned holistic healer after facing a very personal health crisis, which the modern medical system could not resolve. In 2009, she founded Arukah.com, which offers an holistic healer certification program focusing on 3 pillars: naturopathic herbalism, holistic life coaching, and online business and marketing to empower people to become holistic healers and achieve maximum impact in the world. Mayim combines her scientific background, natural healing methods, and faith in the creator and great physician to guide others on a path to personal and professional well-being. Mayim, it's clear that you are very passionate about the topic of holistic health and particularly helping people who are wanting to transition into this approach. How did you find yourself in this line of work, and why is this work so important to you?
Thank you, Ashley, for taking the time to speak with me. And I'd love to answer that question. So, the way I found myself in this line of work starts with my story of when I transitioned from becoming a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center to becoming an entrepreneur and building my first online business in digital marketing. And the reason why I did that is so that I could stay at home and be with my newly born son at the time. And now I have 7 children of my own, and I always wanted to homeschool them and just be there for them. And so that's why I became an entrepreneur. But my first few years as an entrepreneur was extremely difficult. And I thought it was healthy, but later on, after all my studies, I realized there were a lot of things that I was doing that was not very healthy. They were not very healthy habits that I had. And what ended up happening was I got really sick and I thought I was on my deathbed. And I was rushed to the emergency room. And the doctor actually thought that I had a brain tumor. But after extensive testing and examination, she told me that there was nothing wrong with me. I just, I was experiencing a lot of pain, but they had nothing for me. There was nothing they could do for me. She said that she could give me some really strong painkillers, but that's really it. She couldn't really get rid of the problem. And so I took the painkillers, but again, painkillers and any pharmaceutical drug never address the root cause of illness and disease. And that's exactly why this line of work is so important to me and why I went on my own personal journey to become a holistic healer, to study nutrition, herbalism, holistic health, and holistic life coaching, is because we all know people, and maybe probably even ourselves, who, just like me, went to the modern medical system because that's the expected thing to do. That's a normal thing to do. And, tried to get health and healing that way, but hit a dead end, hit a brick wall, and we either got medications that didn't work or that only worked for a while, or that caused side effects that were so terrible that we had to get on other medications, plural, and maybe even the medication or medications caused side effects that caused other health issues. And sometimes the health issues are worse than the first problem that you originally had. And we're on this ridiculous roller coaster of drug after treatment after procedure, because the modern medical system never addresses the root cause. And medical professionals who have woken up know this. And that's why I have medical professionals in my program, including, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, medical technicians, etc., who are learning from me, who are, taking the certification program, because they realize that our system is broken and we need to fix it. It is our destiny as humanity to overcome all this nonsense, really. We can do better and we will do better. I know it. And that's why, in my certification program, sometimes I joke around. No, it's not really a joke, but I say, I'm empowering not just holistic healers, but holistic warriors. We're in a battle. We're in a battle over our own health and healing to safeguard and protect that, and that of our families and friends and community, of course, as well. And we're also in a battle against very powerful people who, because of profits, like to suppress holistic health and healing truths to keep us just sick enough so that we need something, pharmaceuticals, but not well enough to ever get off them. That is truly the goal of big pharma, of the pharmaceutical industry. It's not true. They don't want to heal us. They don't want to cure us. They want to keep us just sick enough so that we keep giving them our money. And you know what? Me personally, I have better things to spend with my money, like on good food, clean herbs, things that don't cause these ridiculous side effects that we experience with pharmaceutical drugs.
Thank you, Mayim. So that brings me to my next question. What are some of the key benefits of transitioning from the conventional healing approach to a holistic approach in health and healing?
Okay, so that's another really great and important question. The key benefits of transitioning from conventional healing to a holistic approach are, right now, I can think of three main reasons. Number one, the holistic approach is safer. Number two, the holistic approach is more effective. And number three, the holistic approach is the true approach that gets to the root cause. Okay. Now, I'd like to illustrate the first point, the safety of holistic medicine. If someone who was taking some, let's say blood pressure medication or something like that, visited me at my house, let's say I invited them over for dinner, and let's say they had to take some of their medicine and they dropped one of their pills, right, in my dining room or in my living room floor. Now, I have very small children. I have a 4-year-old. And what if my 4-year-old found that pill on the floor and thought it was candy or something like that and put it in her mouth and ate it? What would happen? I would immediately have to call the poison control center to get that pill out of her system, because those pills can have deadly side effects. But what if someone dropped a vitamin C pill or a tincture, and one of my children found it? For the most part, if they found it and took it, they might have a little diarrhea. It might be really spicy on their tongue, and so they would stop taking it. But no, I wouldn't have to control the poison control center, because vitamins and herbs and minerals are extremely, like 1,000 times safer than pharmaceutical drugs. There's a few types of, supplements that you might have to call the poison control center, but for the most part, no, you won't have to do that, because our body knows how to work with those substances. It is not a drug. It is a healing tool. Okay. So completely safe. Also, exercise, diet, those are all safe, right? Sleep, those are all part of holistic health and healing. Completely safe, zero side effects. Now, let's talk about the effectiveness. The holistic approach is more effective. And the reason why we know this is because in my practice, and this is the experience of many holistic healers, when it comes to the conventional ways with the pharmaceutical drugs, as I said before, they don't deal with the root cause. They just mask symptoms. So, you might take a cough suppressant, let's say, for example, but if you are not dealing with the root cause, why are you coughing in the first place? Why do you have allergies? Why do you have the flu, etc.? Why is your immune system not strong enough to overcome this in just a few hours or just a day or two overnight? Why? Because you have not built up your immune system. You haven't boosted it or lived the kind of life that you need to in order to avoid those common illnesses altogether. I have one of my students is a medical doctor, and she said that she used to take anti-allergy drugs every single week because of her allergies. The allergy drugs don't boost your immune system; they just suppress it. They just oppress your allergy symptoms. But when you have allergy symptoms, it's your body talking to you and telling you, hey, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this thing that you're eating or this environment that you've just stepped into because of my state of being. I'm not strong enough. That's what your immune system is saying to you. But I taught her a really powerful vitamin protocol that actually boosts your immune system so that your immune system is strong enough to overcome allergies. And so that's the difference. It is effective because it is true. It is true holistic health and healing because it strengthens your immune system. It doesn't silence it, like I said before. And the third issue is the root cause. Holistic health and healing deals with the root cause, and the conventional approach of drugs and surgery, etc., does not. That doesn't mean that you sometimes don't need surgery, for example, or in an emergency situation need a drug, but you're not dealing with the root cause. And if you deal with the root cause, you can make your problems either go away or become extremely minimal, safely, effectively, and naturally without poisoning your body and causing the roller coaster of side effects.
Mayim, you have developed an incredible program that you've already mentioned called the Arukah Holistic Healer Certification Program, which you have specifically created for those looking to either transition into the holistic approach or for those who are wanting to grow in their knowledge and practice. Can you talk us through what differentiates this program from other similar programs that are currently out there?
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, the certification program at Arukah.com is really, truly incredible. And there's a few things that set it apart, actually, many things, but I'd like to focus on a few. And one of them is that when I designed the program, I designed it for someone who was in my situation many years ago, someone who was a busy mom who had a lot of work to do and a lot of things on her plate, but still wanted to empower herself with the knowledge of holistic health and healing for herself, for her family, so she could take care of her family, and maybe even build a career where, very specifically, she could stay at home and, just like me, be a stay-at-home mom. And, even a homeschool mom. I've been a homeschool mom. My oldest is 20 now, and I homeschooled him the whole way. And he's already graduated college, and he's got a computer science degree, and he's an entrepreneur himself. I instilled that dream in him. So being able to, I was able to surpass my income at NASA and still homeschool my children. You know, it's pretty awesome achievement. And so I wanted to empower people in my program to do exactly the same as I've done, to become a holistic healer, to have a successful online business so that they can have time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, meaning that there's no glass ceiling. You know, no one who you need to get a raise from. You know, you just have to help people. That's how I get paid, is when I help people, right? And so that's what's one of the advantages. Another advantage is it's very hands-on and apprenticeship based. And you could go to a college to study to become a naturopathic doctor, or another holistic professional like a chiropractor. But it's going to take a lot more money, and a lot more time as well. This program can be completed in 1 year, but because all of my students pretty much are busy professionals already, or busy moms, it's self-paced. So if you have a lot of things on your plate, it's okay. It's still going to be there for you. There's not like a time limit. You're not going to, your grade's not going to be lowered because you submit an assignment late or anything like that. It's self-paced. And so I've designed it for the busy mom, or the working woman. And another thing that sets it apart is we have three core pillars in our program. One is that our students study naturopathic herbalism. And that takes up the bulk of our program. And naturopathic herbalism includes studying the foundations of holistic health and healing, identifying toxins and detoxification, also nutrition and orthomolecular nutrition, or megadose vitamin therapy, as well as herbalism, which includes also homeopathy and aromatherapy with essential oils. And also they study Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. But it's mostly focused on Western medicine, Western herbalism, excuse me. And then the next core pillar, the second one, is holistic life coaching. And the reason why holistic life coaching is part of the program is to incorporate the mind spirit aspect of it, right? If herbs and supplements are the alternative to pharmaceutical drugs, well, holistic life coaching is like the holistic alternative to psychiatry. It deals with the mind and the spirit, and spirit has to be part of it because we are spiritual beings. We're not just physical beings. We're also spiritual beings. Now, a lot of holistic health and healing schools are based on different religions, New Age, or other pagan religions. And this program, because I'm Jewish, is based on the Creator. It's based on the Bible and biblical principles, Judeo-Christian principles. And so therefore I have a lot of people who are of that faith persuasion, Jews, Christians, or people who maybe, they don't really identify as Jewish or Christian, but they're open to it, or they grew up in that faith, and they don't necessarily want all the new age spirituality. They want the kind of spirituality that they are comfortable with and used to. That's another thing that sets us apart. And life coaching is all about mindset and how to have healthy relationships with yourself, with others. Of course, also, with food and your body and lifestyle. Holistic life coaching encompasses all of that. And it's a very important part of holistic health and healing, especially because stress is often the root cause of many illnesses, common illnesses, and also chronic diseases. So, that mind and spirit aspect is very important. And the third aspect is online business marketing. And again, the reason why that's important is because, as I told you, I really want my students to thrive and to be able to, have that time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, which a which an online business provides, but also because, there's not a lot of jobs for herbalists, or life coaches even. And so we really have to be entrepreneurial. And it's very, very rewarding. And because of my background, with my digital marketing business, my first business, I can really help people in that department.
Thanks so much, Mayim. So I love the power of testimony and hearing people's personal experiences or journeys. Can you share some of the success stories that might be coming to mind or testimonials from past students?
Yes, we certainly have a lot of success stories and testimonials, and we'll show some of those testimonials at the end of our talk today in this video. But uh, I could talk about a few of them that are maybe recent. One of them is one of my students. She told me that she wanted to become a nutritionist, but I guess her life's journey didn't really allow for that. So when she heard about my program, my certification program, when it first launched, she joined, and she really wanted to help her husband, who had been suffering from colitis under the care of doctors for about 20 years, ever since he was in the military. And he was going from medication to medication and, suffering with diarrhea and insomnia and restless legs and indigestion and, all these terrible things that colitis can cause. And so I actually created a custom module for her to help her husband with that. And in 2 months, she helped her husband get off the medication and heal from colitis using food and herbs and natural holistic healing methods. So that was a great accomplishment for her. And, I get people, contacting me saying that I helped them grow their hair back, or actually someone said, "Oh, you helped save, you helped save a little girl's life," just beautiful, wonderful things like that. You helped me heal my daughter, you helped me grow, regrow my teeth so I don't have pain from cavities anymore, like just all these wonderful testimonies. And that's the reason why I love doing what I do. And and you will too, if you join the program. It's so rewarding and fulfilling to understand and to know that you are helping people, truly helping people in ways that they can't get in the modern medical system. It's so rewarding.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mayim. I can only imagine the sense of reward when people start applying these principles to their lives and actually see a change and transformation. And for somebody as passionate as you are around this topic, to witness that and to be a part of that, I imagine that the reward is priceless. So another common question that arises is, once someone completes the program, what are some of the practical steps one would take in order to start a successful career in holistic health?
Okay, that's a great question. And that's actually what the third pillar of our program is all about is, what do you do? Practical steps on what you would do to start a successful career in holistic health. And in that program, we teach our students how to create a high ticket transformational health coaching program that really helps people deal with a serious a problem, a serious health issue. And that doesn't mean that it's a deadly, problem, but it can be something that really affects their life, right? Even skin disorders can really affect your life, right? Even though it's not necessarily deadly. Weight loss could be something that is dealing with a serious issue. There's so many different types of health coaching programs that one can make, anxiety, depression, hormonal issues, etc. So they build, and it's part of the program. They will do this while they're still in the program, and we'll support them the whole way. Is to build that first high ticket health coaching program, and then set up their online assets such as their website, their social media, a video sales letter, press releases, podcasts, all those things that online entrepreneurs need in order to connect with people, get their message of health and healing out there, and build and grow and scale their business.
Thank you so much, Mayim. It's been so great talking with you today. But before we close, for those that would like to get started on the journey to becoming an holistic healer and wanting to learn a little bit more about the certification program, how do they go about contacting you?
Yes, it's been wonderful talking to you today as well. And for all those who would like to get started on their journey to become a holistic healer and learn more about the certification program, all they need to do is visit the website, www.arukah.com, ARUKAH.com, and dig into that and schedule a discovery call. And I would love to be your mentor, your health coach, your teacher in guiding you to become a holistic healer, to become the healer of your home and your family and your community, and to help you build a profitable online health coaching business.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Mayim. So there we have it, folks. If you are ready to move forward in your own journey of becoming a holistic healer, then you can visit the website at www.arukah.com, where you can schedule your first discovery call. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.